Hello there and welcome to ADcraft. In today's video I'm going to be showing you 6 different Hobbit type houses for the side of a hill with lots of different styles. Each of these has a full interior and I'm going to be finishing off with a full build in the new nether blocks. So don't go anywhere and let's get on with the video. So to give you a quick run through of what we're going to be looking at in the video, there will be a world download. In fact, there'll be 2 world downloads in the description. One in a 1.14 world like this, which will contain the first 5 builds, and then one in a 1.16 snapshot release world download that will also be in the description that will contain the final build. So the builds we're going to be looking at are a traditional Hobbit Hole. We're going to be looking at an ice biome. We're going to be looking at an end city themed. We're going to be looking desert themed. We have underwater, and then finally we're going to look at the nether. So first of all, we have here the traditional one. Now I've gone for trying to make it so we've got some nice round looking windows here and a round little doorway here. So I've got a little swatch of red in there that you can pick out there, plenty of bushes, and just some touches like some of these fences going up there to add a bit of detail into this, and I think it looks fantastic from the outside. And now that we've had a look at the outside, and again I will also be showing all of these in the vanilla textures later on in the video, and also I will be showing the first 5 in shaders as well. Just simply won't show the last one because shaders aren't available for the snapshot yet. So we'll have a look inside, but do stick around for that. And here we go and have a look at the build. So yeah, coming through this nice big round double door. I've gone for a double door because it fits in the circle quite nicely. Just some nice little touches like all of the different trapdoors around the edges, and the mixture of the spruce and the birch coming through with the red in the middle. And then to open the doors wide, we come in through to this rustic looking little interior. Some nice little details here as well, like some of the stairs going up with the double stair blocks just for a bit of support on there. A little table with some food there and a little seat for somebody. A lamp on a little shelf there. Liberal use of trapdoors here as well. A little bed there to sleep, and some logs, which is just an extinguished campfire, and a campfire as well there. So everything, if you wanted to build this and copy it, I'm not going to do a block by block, but if you wanted to copy this or build something similar, then you should have everything in each of these builds that you need to survive in the biomes, and the interiors and the exteriors are tied to the biomes as well. So up here we've got some nice storage, again some liberal use of the trapdoors, and we also have just a crafting table up here, an anvil, all the things that you might need, grindstone and a stone cutter, and then again using some little shelves here for some of the details, and then just using a nice little detail which is having the shelf extended onto the underside of the blocks. Also looks really nice. So using some of the spruce trapdoors, not just as structural blocks for things like the shelves, but also for some decoration in front of things like the wood pile, and just beneath here the furnace. So that's the first build, and we'll move on now to the ice biome one. So the next build we have is one that's based around an ice world. All of these builds, every single one of them, is based on exactly the same rock formation, and in the world download there is a blank copy for if you wanted to do your own version. Please do in the description let me know which of these builds is your favourite, and also let me know on Twitter or by joining the Discord. Again, links in the description for the Discord will be, and let me know which is your favourite, and show me as well, share what you've created off the back of these. I'd love to see those. So this one here, possibly my favourite of the builds. Again, going for some nice round windows, but round in a different style, so square, but using the trapdoors on the inside, just creating this nice round effect with the windows here. And then a much more cozy feel with the dark oak, the wood and the spruce mixed in. Just again, something built into the cliff, trying to fit in with the theme, which would be the ice. Again, using some things like the fences on the sides, a great way to tie the build together with some of the little touches that you can do on the terraforming as well. So that's a great way that you can do that. And then obviously snow layers are brilliant for making anything look good. So when we move inside here, again, we've got this little curvy circular entrance going in, but a much smaller entrance. The reason being, if it's cold, you want smaller windows, a smaller entrance, so the heat doesn't escape. So moving inside here, you'll see that the central point here, we've got this nice big campfire in the middle with just some stone slabs around that, some smooth stone slabs around that, just to cover that in and make sure that none of the fire would escape in reality. Again, a couple of furnaces here, and using some sea lanterns and some glass to get some ambient light coming through. We've got a nice little bed frame here with a headboard and a foot. Again, access to the window, just these little porthole windows here, just so that you can see out. And again, using different trapdoors this time, and this time we've got a mezzanine here, using trapdoors as the basis for it. So if we take a look upstairs, again, we've got things like the anvil, we've got things like the grindstone here, so it is actually a practical build as well. You could use this. And then coming upstairs, we've got, again, some chests, the other little window that you can go and look outside, and some carpet. Again, keep your feet nice and warm when you're in here. But yeah, very pleased with how this one came out, with the interior as well. Everything that you would need for your survival world. And if you were in an ice spikes biome or somewhere like this, then you could quite easily get the materials once you've got a silk touch pick. Otherwise, you could replace some of these interior blocks. So the blue ice, you could replace with just more packed ice, or something like some blue concrete, or some light blue terracotta, for example. So again, very pleased with how this happened, and using the sea lanterns for light, and the dark oak trapdoors as a lot of the decoration inside. So let's have a look at the next of the builds. So this one is taking a bit more of a departure from the traditional aesthetic that you would get from these Hobbit style side of a hill type builds. The reason being, with the end, obviously you've got a very specific block palette and a very specific look. So what we've got here, and what I've built into the cliff face, is some big obsidian pillars with some end crystals on top. Now obviously you can craft the end crystals, you wouldn't be able to get the bedrock, but you could just place them on a piece of black concrete or some obsidian or something like that. Then we've got some of these crazy chorus plants just planted around here, and then a lot of end stone. There's quite a lot of the yellowy textures in this build, which is why we've got the purple just dotted about. And all of these are completely terraformed around the builds. So yeah, looking at these again, still going for the largely circular look, but with the porthole windows as well that are kind of a bit smaller. Some slightly funky lamps here as well, just to use the end rods to give a bit of lighting. And then with the colour palette, using the birch trapdoors as well to surround the build. So going down with a bit of a wibbly wobbly staircase, coming into the build itself. And again, we'll see here, we've used some glass inside, some of the purple glass that you can get in the end, with some furnaces here. Obviously, if you're in the end, it's a dangerous place, so you want to make sure that you've got yourself an ender chest, and you want an anvil so you can enchant everything. Then just using little things like the crafting bench, and using some of this, I believe this is the blue terracotta, which looks very purple but is a perfect match for the purple blocks, in fact. And what I've also done here is another little touch, is where I've put these stairs in, I've actually filled this in with water. So actually you've got an inbuilt infinite water source within your house as well. So coming up here to the first bed level, you've just got a little alcove there within the obsidian pillar where you can sleep and look out across the end. And then coming down through and up the other side, again trying to use the aesthetics that you would find in that dimension, with the slabs as the staircase here coming upstairs. And here you've just got, instead of some chests, we've obviously got some shulkers. So we've got some of this glass again, the purple glass looking out through this little porthole window, and just again some decorative touches using the purple as an accent underneath the edges of the blocks. And one of the things that I've done is actually used end rods, so you can't walk off the side here. End rods as a little balustrade, and I think that looks really good in this kind of type of build as well. So yeah, all of these you can open the shulker boxes as well with where they're placed, and just purple ceiling. So again, really happy with how this one turned out, and just something that's a bit different but also would be a really good little starter base, or even a base when you go adventuring somewhere, but something that looks really nice for you. And then just again using some end rods, not just for lighting but for some supports for the stairs, and then hiding some in here as well. So yeah, all around end-based build, and we'll move on to the next one. So next we have the desert, and what I've done here is thrown in, just for a bit of color variance and variation, some of the sand some of the red sand that you can just throw in almost as a pathway, because there's no path blocks. Lots of dead bushes, some cactuses. I've thrown in some leaves as well to kind of represent sort of some vines and some low hanging, but of course these are all sort of ground level bushes, and again rather than using the fences, using some walls just as a little bit of detail to add a bit of depth. Really do love wall blocks. They will be especially good after 1.16 when they all connect up, but here they just add that little bit of extra depth, different levels that catch the eye when you're looking at a small build like this. And that's generally my rule, is I put more detail into a small build than I would into a large build, because on a small build you need things to draw your eye. On a big build the details will get lost and there's too much to look at. So again, that's just one of my tips. Here again, using some lamps, but using just some torches. I thought of all the lighting in the game, those were the most fitting for the actual biome and for the style that I was going for here. So we've got some of the chiseled red sandstone blocks here as we go inside, and then just as a bit of decoration we've got a creeper face in the floor, just to be a bit representative of the desert temples that you find. We've got some chests hidden in the floor because the colour of the chests kind of feeds into the orange from the sandstone, and so we've got the accents of green just so that it's not just a sea of yellow there. And then not too much on this floor. Obviously you could put more things on. The reason that there isn't too much on this floor is because it is actually open. I decided that there weren't really any suitable doors to put in here. You could use acacia doors for the orange, but the style of the doors, just the way that the build looks from the outside, it just works better without having a door itself on this. So yeah, there's other things that you can do, like having stairs. If you haven't got line of sight with any of the mobs, then they're not going to come to you, and obviously if you lit it up nicely. Up here I've got one of the things I thought was a nice little touch. What we've got is a little sarcophagus sleeping chamber. So you've got the top slabs of the sarcophagus that have kind of been knocked off the stone slabs to allow you to gain access to that, and that's on a little plinth here, like a little altar. And then you've got this one big window which is surrounded by the green, and then you've got the little window as well which you can open up and look out, but is mainly for decoration and light. You've got again a little balustrade using the birch. The birch with the sand goes really well. The other little porthole window down there, and then everything that you need. So you've got your furnace, you've got your smoker, your blast furnace, and your loom. Everything that you could want in order to do use this as a proper base. Obviously you could replace those with things like stone cutters or put stone cutters next to them. Anything that you wanted really in here. There's quite a bit of space here. I've tried to keep this one quite clean, but yeah, quite minimalist on the interior of this, with a big centerpiece here with the tomb, and then the one other touch with the half slabs, and then the chiseled sandstone. Just with this texture pack you just get the little creeper face, which I thought was quite nice there. So that is the sand temple, and just again quite pleased with how this one came out as well. and we will move on to the next build. Now next we have something a bit different, again going underwater this time. So obviously I've created a big block of water. It's not flowing everywhere because I've got this trench around everything, but once we get inside the water you'll see that actually what we've got is another open base. Now if you've got an underwater base like this, I've created it so you have got a big swim-in entrance. You could quite easily put a conduit in here or nearby, and that will give you everything you need. Again, just terraformed and decorated with some things like some coral, and just using things like the sea pickles, and also this lovely little bubble effect in front of the window. So using these magma blocks to create some bubbles just in front of the window that you can see both from outside and inside, and some other little places as well where you've got some bubbles, and just the edge of a shipwreck as well with a chest in there as well. So again, keeping with this underwater theme, everything you'd find here. This entrance again, with the shape of it, with the colours, a little bit reminiscent of a Guardian itself with the orange and the green. So I was quite pleased with how this came out. And then you look through the middle and it looks a little bit like the eye and the mouth of a Guardian there. So again, designed this in a way to tie in with the theme, which was the underwater. And then coming in here, we've got a slightly different layout. We've got things like the chests up here, which you can open because they've got some detailing on the ceiling above with some sea lanterns to give some light underwater, and then some upside down just some upside down stairs in the prismarine again for the shape. And this one is a bit different. We've got here again just a decorative piece using the dark prismarine, but this one is different because up here you have got a dried out section. So actually one of the problems with building underwater is there are certain things like a bed that you can't waterlog at the present, and so coming up through this little porthole here gives you that kind of safe retreat to come up. And again, you've got everything that you need up here. You've got furnaces, another chest, which could be an ender chest if you wanted, your smoker, your crafting bench, also your stone cutter. These to me are always the key kind of things that you would need or want in any base. Decorated again with trapdoors because that's always a nice little way to do it, just to accent it with a bit of colour. We've got the sleeping bit here, and then underneath here we've got like some trapdoors again just above that. That's one's the wrong way around, but that didn't trigger me too much. And then of course an ender chest here. Like I said, with those bubbles outside the window you get a beautiful effect when you're looking out there. So this is the underwater entry in the builds, and we will go through now, escape the underwater side and go to an entirely different world and look at the last build, which is based on the latest Nether snapshot. So here we are in the latest snapshot, and as you will see we have the last of these builds. So just to pick out some of the details, obviously we're using some of the warped root there on the floor just as a little tree that's fallen over. I've got a custom tree here that I've created, but just using the same basic ideas, using some of the vines and also some of the shroom lights. Here I've gone back for the traditional circular entrance, but a bit of a bigger entrance here, and just bringing in some of the depth and the combination of the blocks. So in the back there you've got some of the weeping obsidian, you've got the different types of the new woods that are here, you've got some buttons in there as well. Again, just things to draw you into the build. So this would be a fantastic build in the nether. Obviously you've got the netherrack as the basics for this build, and you've obviously got the vines and the new growing vines. The name escapes me at the moment, but I'm sure somebody will remind me in the comments what those are called. But yeah, if we look at the outside of this, again it's a very traditional style with that circular entrance, one additional circular window, very circular there, and this again has got depth. It's got glass on the other side of the fence gate as well. We've got some of the nice new nether gold ore, as well as the the quartz ore built in here, so you can imagine this just sticking out of the side of any one of the big cliffs in the Nether. So let's go and have a look at the interior of this. So here I've gone for something a bit different, and I must say I was inspired by the colour difference of the stripped, the two stripped wood types, the two new nether woods. Just because when I started putting them down, they looked really like an old style tiled floor that you'd get in a kitchen. So that inspired me at first to just do a little interior kitchen build. Now I don't do interiors often, just because I tend to build quite big, and filling a big interior just to this level of detail just would take such a ridiculous length of time. But do let me know in the description if you'd like to see more of these small style builds, and if you'd like to see more interiors. In here we've just got some cake, some carrots, and of course the enchanted golden apple in the larder itself, in the pantry. We've got a little extractor fan from the smoker, which is cooking some steak. Obviously the little sink, and then some chopping blocks with the potato and with a raw salmon on there. And then just for an additional bit of light, but also one of the supports to hold up this second set of cabinets, we've just got an end rod coming in here. Now coming across, I'm making use of the new lanterns. Now they don't give out as much light, which you need to bear in mind when you're using them for your builds. But I've got a couple of those just hanging down in the corners. And then you've just got a little seating area, so just a social and dining area there, a little barrel, and your crafting accessories. So in this build, again, you have everything that you would need to actually use this as a practical place to live. And I will show you that as we go upstairs, using, again, don't sleep on the old nether brick. It's a great texture still. These are all default textures, of course. My texture pack doesn't work in 1.16 yet, but yeah, these textures are all fantastic, and we will also be showing the default textures for the other builds once we've gone through. So coming upstairs, using the shroom light, we've just got a little lamp design. Now they have taken out dragon eggs. I couldn't find them, so I would normally use a dragon egg as a base with the shroom light on top, but actually I ended up using this this brewing stand, and it really does work. I'm really pleased with how that came out as a little just detail, as a bedside lamp. So here you've got picking out the accents of the green that you've got here, just a cyan bed and a bit of carpet. Again, downstairs you've got just this little carpet design, just building on sort of like the pattern that's underneath there. Also means that it makes that particular bit where there wasn't masses of light there spawn proof. And then coming up here again, you've got things like your chest, you've got here the smithing table. Now it has got a use, and then up here you've got a whole array of furnaces here, and obviously just keeping on with the build of the lore, then the extractor goes up through this chimney coming out there, and then we've got some of these beautiful lanterns. Again, I love lanterns anyway, but these blue lanterns are just amazing. And then of course just a stone cutter and your grindstone. So again, another little touch, just using the gate rather than the fences, just to mix things up a bit in these balustrades. Still plenty of room for people to use this, and again you've got the little window that you can look out here when you wake up in the morning, and also this one here where you can just take a view out into the nether, the darkness there. And again, a little roof pattern using some of the basalt. I just had to get some of the basalt in here just because I do love the texture that it brings. Works really well with the shroom light, and these are just some the underside of some smithing tables. Just that as a ceiling texture works really well. So there, that's this build. Now I'll go through and show you if I can get out the door, show you the other builds. Love these new door textures as well, particularly in with the surround of the warped route there. Yeah, I'll show you the other builds with the vanilla textures. So before I show you the other textures, this, just to show you, is what I created as a base rock shape. Moving on to firstly the undersea build. Again, there's never going to be too much difference because I am using a vanilla inspired texture pack, but there's a couple of little things that do look slightly different here. But yeah, really pleased with how this turned out, and we'll go and have a quick look at the interior again. Just a quick look around and head up through to the living quarters out here. So again, can't actually see with the vanilla textures on the bubbles. It is something that comes through from the texture pack. Part of the reason that I like the texture pack, but again, the bubbles would be coming through that window there. So moving on, swimming across now to the next one, we have the sand inspired desert temple. Again, the textures, the leaves, the one thing that I do prefer the default leaves to actually the leaves in the texture pack, if I'm honest. These are much more multi-purpose. You can use them as vines, you can use them as leaves on trees, you can use them as bushes, anything. The high definition ones are a bit too busy, they're a bit too clunky, and they're not quite transparent enough. I like how you can see through these a lot better. So yeah, coming through and looking at this, again, the default textures, I think it looks great. Moving inside again, the creeper, and coming upstairs to the sarcophagus that we've got here and the rest of the build. This one's quite a plain build. The sandstone in this default looks a lot closer to the actual sand as well. And yeah, that's the desert before we move on to the end. And in the end, again, we've got lots of purple and lots of yellow, but just a slightly different tone of the yellow we've got here. So the purple blocks, again, the obsidian's actually a little bit more purple in this, which I quite like. And then you've got your end crystals there to look at it from a bit of a distance for you before we head inside. And again, all looks very similar. Same but different, just with the bed here. And again, this blue terracotta is such a lovely colour. I mean, terracotta again is something that people don't use as much because it's quite difficult to get hold of unless you've got a mason nearby, but when you do get hold of it, then it just adds so much to a build. And then coming up, looking out the window and looking around here again with the accent, the end stone and the end brick is much nicer in the texture pack, granted, but you can still make it work in any build, and people tend not to use it as much, but I quite like using sort of unusual blocks because I find it's quite challenging to try and make them work, to be honest. So moving on now to the next build. Make sure you close the door. Don't want an enderman coming in, not that you could. Again, to the ice biome, so there's a much closer match between the blue and the packed ice in the default textures that you'll notice here. And the wood textures, again, the wood textures are gorgeous in default now. Quite busy on the bark side of things, but then just really nice in general with the lamps. And again, the fences again look really good. And the oak is again is quite a bit darker, in fact, in this. So the oak works as those trapdoors just around the edge. Work really well in this, and we'll go and have a look inside. In here, again, the blues, very blue interior, but you've got a nice fire in the center there to keep you warm, so it's not too bad. And then coming up here to just give it a quick look around. And last but very much not least, the traditional Hobbit Hole style build. So some of the little things here that we've got are like the depth, using the stairs and making sure that they bend around there, so you get almost a triple depth from the stairs themselves there. Using again the bushes, the leaves look fantastic there. Just some fences to mark the edge of where the pathway is, and I really love path blocks. I've used path blocks in a lot of the builds, including the ice one there, and also I think in the nether one as well I used the path blocks. But here, where you've got this entrance, you've just got the step up, so you've got the trapdoors and then the stairs and then half block before you get to the main door. So that puts it right in the middle and means that you can get the full circle look from your entrance. And in here we have this real rustic look. Just there, in case anybody didn't notice, there's just a lever under there and it's just a piston. For the table, the piston tables look really good because they've got a nice little embellishment of the piston head around the outside, and they just sit slightly lower than a full block. The little bedroll there, just a little mushroom next to the bed, and then coming upstairs finally to look at this in a bit more detail. These spruce trapdoors are very nice in the default textures as well. So that is the final build in here. And now I will give you, for the end, just a very quick run through of these, certainly these first 5 anyway, in the shaders. So off we go. So now we're going to have a look through these builds with the shaders on. And at this point, it's worth saying, if you don't already subscribe to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Please do make sure that you also leave a like and a comment so that I know which of these has been your favourite of the builds. And also let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see in future videos. Here we have the snowy, icy one, again with some of the extra details that you can see, like the stone buttons there, just to some extra interest on the stone face. The end. Onto the jungle, desert even, though I suppose this could also work in the jungle, particularly if you had a jungle at the edge of your desert. And then last but not least, we have the underwater build, and I'm using Silda's Vibrant shaders and I've got the underwater fog turned off, and it does look really good. In the shader pack, underwater you just get a lot of life and a lot of movement when you do use that. So again, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. If you did like the video, please do think about sharing it with anybody else that you know that might like it. That again really does help. And I will see you next time on ADcraft.